Shri Chinmaya Sadgurave Namaha. Íśopanișad Upanishad, 8th mantra. Today the last explanation I will give. Sapariyagat shukram akayam avranam asnaviragum shuddham apapavidham kavir manishi paribhu swayambhuhu yatha tathyatah arthan vyadadhat shashvatibhyas samabhyah. If we see this mantra, in Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, there is one teachings that is called Neti Neti. Not this, not this. Our Veda has taught us in two ways. One is Vidhimukha, means describing what it is, what Atma is. Another is Nishedhamukha, injunction, what is not Atma. So this mantra is the composition of the method of positive description of Atma and negation of what is not Atma. That is why this mantra is very, 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 very important for the Vedantic seekers who wants moksha. Because moksha means to know the real nature of our own self, that is Atma. And that is the moksha. So here this mantra, very typical of the literature of Upanishads, which attempts at a complete and exhaustive definition so as to give to the readers, if not a word, painting of the external, at least a sufficient amount of data to give a sincere student an intuitive understanding of the all-comprehensive factor called life, which is also considered as Atma. Bhagavan Šankara ji, the great commentator, has himself more than once used this mantra and the expression in his maximum works to indicate the Atma in us. In Gita Bhashya, in other Upanishad commentary, he has used this portion. In Sanskrit, when adjectives are used, विशेषण की व्यवहार जब होता है, unlike other language in the world, it is done with a particular eye on giving us a deep significance to the very order in which the qualifications are grouped. Here also we have the same technique used by the rishis, the sages. The word pariyagat means gone abroad or went round. Thus, this mantra opens with an idea that the Atma or self went out to spread itself everywhere. Together, it means that the Atma is all pervading. Just look at the next expression, Shukram, Shubhram, Shuddham declares the Atma to be bright in the sense that it is the very light-giving principle in our intelligence. If there is no Atma, the intelligence will be intact, but it will not function. Then see the negative expression in the mantra to explain Atma, that akayam, bodiless. Self or pure life is indicated here by saying that it is bodiless. Here, it means that it has no connection with the matter envelopments, in general constituted of the 5 sheaths, panchakoshaha, as explained and pointed out many times by me or by scriptures. The expressions, suppose sketchless and without muscles, asna viragum, clearly point out that it has no physical body at all. Atma has no physical body at all. Because ulcers can come only on the physical body. Where there is no body, no disease can come there. The same idea is being more forcefully emphasized when the Atma is described as that which has no muscles. The term or the terminology Shuddha means pure. It indicates that the Atma has no causal body, since it is untouched by sin, any papa. So, Atma has no pap, no sin. The greatest sin in us is our own ignorance of our own real nature, which in its turn creates all the animal passions in us, goading us to more and more inhuman and animalistic actions. So far, the self has been indicated by the sages or by the rishis in the language of negation, neti, neti, na iti, not this, not this. In Sri Ramakrishna's language, how it is that if you start peeling off an onion, that which is the onion actually? You start peeling off. This is not, this is not, this is not. Neti, 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 neti. There are 2 methods by which we can explain the, the post in the village side. Just think, in the village where there is no sufficient light, in the semi-dark condition, at the time of dawn or dusk, you just think, where not fully dark and fully light, there's semi-darkness. So when the light post, there is no light, but the post is standing, and in the semi-dark, A deluded person considered that as a human being is standing over there. So that person clearly declares that we will not take this way because there is a ghost. So seeing deludedly a ghost on a post. Clear? So we can explain the post to be deluded. Explain the post to a deluded man who is suffering under his own delusions caused by the vision of the ghost. He can be shown that the ghost is a delusion, and he can also be positively guided to the recognition of the post. With the deluded friend of ours, we can only start in the language of negation. Similarly, here the great Rishi addressing us starts with the language of negation. He negates all other possibilities of our misunderstanding of the Atma. Without correct training and guidance, without proper guru or teacher, one is apt to consider that the self is the body or the intellect. The above expressions have, in their very grouping, indicated to the student that the Atma is neither the physical nor the subtle nor the causal body. Transcending them all is the Atma, the eternal and very, very perfect, supremely perfect. But the seeker, mumukshu, knows no entity beyond the physical body, the subtle body, and the causal structure, and therefore the student is apt to misunderstand the self to be a complete negative idea with the no positive qualities of existence in it. Like Nagarjuna Shunyavad. He was a scholar, Pandita, but he concluded Atma as Shunya. So, in order to remove the idea that when the three bodies are removed, the self in its essential nature would become a zero or a non-entity, and to assert that it is a positive factor with all the dynamic qualities of life as such, we have here a series of phrases to declare the eternal nature of the self. Not only that, this Upanishad is starting with the whole idea of Atma. How? Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate Purnam Eva Avashishyate. I have explained a lot about this mantra. If you've forgotten that, you can go through this YouTube channel and you can listen in this Upanishad. The self is the seer or the witness. It is a declaration that the light spark in us is the real vitality behind the eyes that see. We vaguely say that eyes sees, or nose smells, or ears hear. We all know that. But if it was the only truth, then if my eyes are plucked, then those eyes could also see. If eyes can see, then my plucked eyes also can see now. If hand does anything else, eating or fighting, anything else, then if anyone cuts my hand, that hand, the cut portion, also can fight or eat. Can it do so? The vitality behind the eyes that see, the ears that hear, the nose that smells, the tongue that tastes, and the skin that feels. That is the vitality. In fact, if the life principle is removed from the sense organs, they in themselves are impotent to register any impression on their objects. To experience the world of objects, we need not only the sense organs, but it is equally necessary that the sense organs must function presided over by the grace of the self. Thus, the self or the Atma is the seer, kavihi, in all the sense organs, the mind and the intellect. None of the activities of perceiving, feeling, or thinking can be experienced by us if we are not charged by the life principle in us. Now, the terminology omniscient if the self be thus the knowing principle in the individual, then it being the same life principle in all living beings is also the one knowing principle in all beings. Thus, the self is considered as omniscient, all-knowing, sarvagnya. Every little bit of knowledge that is gained in the world and every one of its transactions are but known by the same self, and hence the self in us as the one consciousness is the eternal knower in all bosoms. That is the impact of Tattvamasi, that thou art, you are that, the same consciousness. That is the impact of the Mahavakya, Aham Brahmasmi, I am that. And what is that? Prajnanam Brahma. That Brahman is knowledge alone. I am Atma Brahma. But we mistakenly think that I am the individual being. There is individual Atma. I am Atma Brahman. There is no many consciousness. There is only one consciousness. The Atma is certainly transcendent. Atma is a state of experienceable experience that lies beyond the realm of the finite. Transcending the finite lies the domain of that transcendent self. Now the terminology itself sprung. We, the finite creatures as human beings, can struggle and strive to understand the reality behind the world of perceived plurality only through the intervention of our instruments of thinking and feeling. Our intellect can function only in three definite fields of activity called time, space, and causality. Desha, Kala, Nimitta. Cause hunting is the greatest vocation of the intellect. Whenever we see a thing in this world on which we want to do research and an inquiry, our inquiry should naturally dive itself into the quest of its cause. What is the cause? What is the cause? What is, if some person is misbehaving with us, the intellectual person just starts finding out the cause, why that person is doing so. Thus, suppose Mr. James is better understood when we understand that he is not the son of Mr. Wilkinson. But if the inquiry is still carried further, we will have to come to a statement that Mr. Wilkinson is the son of Mr. James, and James the son of Mr. Wilkinson, Mr. Jonathan. And in the same strain, we can arrive at a point when we shall understand that Mr. B, Mr. Bubu, is the son of Mr. Aniruddha. But the question will not be answered fully because we can still inquire who is the father of Aniruddha. Similarly, in the world also, the causation hunting intellect will have to be checkmate at a particular point by a great grand supposition, as it were, only to stem the tide of its own wasteful flow. Thus, philosophically, we have to accept that there was a first cause. There was a first cause. Karan, koi, jaise phal, any result, any effect has any cause. So if we go back, so there should be an ultimate cause, and that is we called a first cause, which is in its never-ending flow of changes has brought about the entire world of plurality as it is seen today. But the ultimate cause must in itself be uncaused by any other cause than itself. This is the idea that is expressed here, where the self is described as Swayambhu, means self-sprung. Swayam bhavati iti Swayambhu. That is self-existing. That is Atma. Atma has no cause. For the transactional reality, Atma is the cause of everything else. But from the standpoint of Atma, neither Atma is the cause of anything else, nor Atma is the result of anything else. It is not born out of something, but it is self-born. In fact, philosophically, the idea expressed in this simple-looking phrase is that the Atma is the first cause which is untouched by any effect, and that it is not in itself the effect of any cause. All effects are perishable since they are born. जिनका उत्पन्न हुआ है उनका क्षय होगा ही. This is called sixfold vikara modification. Jayate asti vardhate viparinamate apakshiyate vinashyate. It should be. जो कुछ उत्पन्न हुआ है, चाहे वो पृथ्वी है, चाहे वो सूर्य है, चाहे वो चंद्रमा है, सारे चीज का विनाश होगा ही होगा. Clear? So the thing is, all effects are perishable since they are born. The self is imperishable, and so it must be unborn. And if the intellect should ask for its cause, then to answer it, we must say that it is the uncaused cause or is self-born, Swayambhu. Though this may look like an unsatisfactory explanation for the intellect, those who understand the self to be that which is beyond the intellect can very well come to appreciate this term as echoing nothing but the ineffectual fluttering of an exhausted and self-founded intellect. After indicating thus the supreme reality with terms negating that which it is not, and with terms positively directing our gaze to its manifested glories, the Rishi, the sage, still feels dissatisfied and restless, and so continues the mantra even though the meter has ended. The sage, the Rishi, seems to draw the mantra into an ugly length. You have seen there is no meter in this mantra, because he feels as it were a fatiguing dissatisfaction that he has not said all that can be said, nor has he led the student to the very portals of the truth. How much he tried, just think, the Rishi, to explain this mantra. The terms employed in the first half of the mantra, such as Shukram, Akayam, Avranam, Asnaviragum, Shuddham, and Apapavidham, can all be considered as adverbs modifying Paryagat. the same set of terms can also be considered as referring to Isha. Ishavasyam idagum sarvam yatkincha jagatyam jagat. Tena tyaktena bhunjithaha ma gridhakasya siddhana. In which case the mantra would paint the idea of the seeker wholly become one with the pure, bodiless, luminous, incorporeal, immaculate Brahman, the eternal reality. In Mundaka Upanishad 2.3.5, there is a mantra. Samprapyenam mrishayaha jnana triptaha kritatmanaha vitaragaha prashantaha te sarvagum sarvatah prapya dhira yuktatmanaha sarvam eva avishanti. 3.2.5 Mundaka Upanishad. So, thus he cries that it is the self or pure consciousness, Shuddha Chaitanya, that is the power and the strength behind the laws of all natural phenomena. If the movement of the planets, the regularity of the seasons, the harmony in nature, the rhythm in reproduction have all been strictly followed without exception all around the globe for millions of years. Now, it is because of the unquestionable authority of the lawgiver and his law. That authority, might, or power belongs to the supreme reality, the self. Hari Om Tat Sat, Hari Om Tat Sat, Hari Om